This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. And today I'm going to discuss my upcoming Eye in the Sky series. When I produce the series, one must assume that what Tim Holmseth claims is true. That very powerful forces want Timothy Charles Holmseth, Field McConnell, Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Hallett, Preacher Dan, and others dead. About as blunt as it gets. Because what Timothy Charles Holmseth claims has to apply to anyone that is helping him out. It would have to apply to anyone that is a member of this Pentagon pedophile task force. This would have to apply to anyone assisting Timothy Holmseth stay at large. Because these people would be on this death squad's radar. They would be as much of a target as Timothy Holmseth himself. And it makes sense, because there's two things that the group that wants to kill Timothy Charles Holmseth would want. Number one, they would want to silence Timothy Charles Holmseth. Take him out. Shut him up. Permanently. The same holds true of Field McConnell. Because Field McConnell is helping to spread the message. He's got this other organization, this Children's Crusade, with which to assist Timothy Holmseth in his spreading the message about this powerful network of people. Now we have, as evidence, according to Timothy Holmseth and a lot of other people, that Epstein did not kill himself. That someone may have infiltrated the prison and killed him. Now, Epstein was in what was supposed to be a highly secure prison. Had TV cameras, had guards, and yet he was able to commit suicide. Or, on the other side of the coin, he was murdered, executed, because he had secrets that very powerful people did not want to come out. The same scenario exists with Timothy Charles Holmseth. He claims to have secrets that very powerful people don't want to come out. So it only makes sense that these very powerful people want Tim Holmseth dead. And these very powerful people are going to want anybody associated with Timothy Charles Holmseth dead. And it makes sense that they would want anyone helping Timothy Charles Holmseth remain on the run dead. It would make sense that anyone publishing on Facebook or having live streams supporting Timothy Charles Holmseth, Field McConnell, and the things they have to say, dead. All these people are targets. Now, what I'm going to go into in my series is why none of these people, no matter what measures they take, will be able to hide Because assuming that what Timothy Charles Holmseth says is true, everybody out there, from Timothy Holmseth, Bill McConnell, Chris Hallett, Kirk Pendergrass, Preacher Dan, Randy and Sarah, might as well draw up their last will and testament, because they're running out of time. Someday, there's going to be an accident. Someone's going to get sick. Someone's going to get hit by a car. Someone's going to fall off a cliff, or any number of the 1,000 ways to die. They're going to start dying one by one, by one, by one. So they might as well be prepared for their impending death. They might as well get their affairs in order, say goodbye to all those they need to say goodbye to, because they're members of this task force. They own web pages, they own live streams, they own legal entities. They are in some way associated with Timothy Charles Holmseth, Kirk Pendergrass, Chris Hallett, and Preacher Dan. And they're all going to have the same fate bestowed upon them. And there it is. This is what is in store for these people, according to Timothy Charles Holmseth. Now, how is all this going to be possible? Well, I suggest that people out there that doubt what I have to say, that any of this would be possible, might want to start reading Tom Clancy novels, James Bond novels, look at recent news about reporters that get killed and there's no trace of their bodies. North Korean brother, cousin to a dictator, goes into an airport. A woman brushes up against him, and he winds up dying very quickly. If somebody wants you dead, you're going to be dead. And in the stakes that are as high as they are with this alleged group that wants to take over the presidency of the United States, or who want to hide this vast pedophile network, they're going to take steps to do it. And they may not be concerned about getting caught. You may have people that have a fatal illness, they have incurable cancer or some incurable disease, yet they believe in the cause, so they don't care if they get caught. They have nothing to lose if they take out someone. And Timothy Holmseth once claimed that he had Navy SEALs protecting him, but the Vice President of the United States might have Navy SEALs that are willing to fulfill his mission, his orders. There might be Navy SEALs that are members of this vast child trafficking ring. There are policemen that Tim Holmseth claims are members of this task force. There's all kinds of people that are capable of carrying out the orders of whoever is in charge of all this. Tim Holmseth says it's the Vice President of the United States. Tim Holmes says it's the Clintons. Tim Holmes says all kinds of people, very powerful people, are involved in this pedophile ring. Any number of these people have the capability of ending the life of a housewife with a blog. Instantly, undetectably. And it's these people that are going to be the collateral damage because of being involved with Timothy Holmseth. These people are dead already. They just can't say, okay, well, I'm going to shut my Facebook off and I'm going to go away. It's too late. There are people that have been at this for weeks, months, even a couple of years. And it's these people, because they got involved in something that's bigger than themselves, that are going to pay the price. They're going to pay for the price of their lives. Now, the kind of group that Timothy Holmseth advocates exists might want the targets marked for death to suffer a little bit. They may not be the first to die. There may be a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a grandchild, a granddaughter, who unexpectedly dies. Maybe their dog or cat suddenly dies for no reason. Somebody breaks into your car unexpectedly. Somebody knifes your tires unexpectedly. That would be what we call a "we are watching you" warning. That we know where you are, we know who you are, and we're coming for you. This is a message that Timothy Holmseth tried to get out. He said that somebody knifed the tires of his car. Now, why would somebody knife the tires of a car belonging to a pizza delivery driver? Why would somebody take a risk of being seen to do something as elaborate as putting 5 knife holes in the tire of a car? If we use that scenario, that means that somebody was sending a warning to Timothy Holmseth. And that warning is, we're coming for you. We're going to get you. You're dead. Same thing with the mirror. Timothy Holmseth did a big article claiming that someone got into his car, took apart the mirror in his car, and for whatever reason, did not carry out the deed that he accused him of, and that is to plant drugs and then later come back and arrest him for having the drugs. Instead, they left the mirror dangling. Again, this can be taken as a warning. And that warning is that we are watching you. We can take you out anytime, any place. At our convenience, when you're least expected, we're going to get you. Another thing that happened. Timothy Charles Holmseth was going to court. Timothy Charles Holmseth, driving along, all of a sudden, lights go off behind him. Policeman pulls him over. Timothy Holmseth didn't fasten his seatbelt, so he got a ticket for it. But what an interesting coincidence. Timothy Holmseth gets a ticket on the day he's going to court. Again, we have a warning. Again, we have the message coming across. We are watching you. That's the excuses that Tim Holmseth uses. That's the proof that he comes out with to try and convince people that people are out to get him. And that's a possible scenario. So when we go forward, assuming that everything that Timothy Holmseth is true, the question has to be, how are the people who are going to carry out these executions, because that's what they are, they're executions, layman's terms, they're murders. But we're talking about shadow governments, deep state operatives, mafia types. These are executions. About as clear as it can be. So, all these people that are involved with Timothy Holmseth are going to get executed. There's no avoiding it. You can't go off the grid, go into hiding, hope that President Trump is going to protect you. That's not the case here. You people are expendable. Trump has taken the position that you will be collateral damage. You will be the fallen heroes in the battlefield. Your death will be for the greater good. Because in the end, even if 20, 30, 100, 500 people die, then he will achieve his ultimate goal of putting a stop to this so-called pedophile network. It's what Phil McConnell said it was. It's a war. In wars, people die. People die on the good side, people die on the bad side. Phil McConnell claims that he is on the good side of this war. So that means that Phil McConnell will have to sacrifice his life. Tim Holmseth will have to sacrifice his life. Chris Hallett will have to sacrifice his life. Kirk Pendergrass will have to sacrifice his life. Preacher Dan will have to sacrifice his life. The owner of any number of Facebook pages in support of Tim Holmseth will have to sacrifice their lives. The owner of one or more live streams, websites, YouTube websites, will have to sacrifice their lives. The people where Tim Holmseth is staying are going to have to sacrifice their lives. And anyone that is part of the Holmseth McConnell network will have to sacrifice their lives in this ongoing war. Because war means casualties. War means people are going to have to die, people are going to be wounded, people are going to be damaged until one side or the other wins. That's the nature of war. And that's what Phil McConnell and Tim Holmseth are declaring here. They are declaring war on a perceived enemy. And they have recruited all these soldiers. The Facebook people, the Twitter people, the people on Vimeo and elsewhere that actively support him day in and day out. These people are soldiers in this war, and soldiers die. Now, let's look at the President of the United States. He's a pretty powerful guy. He's got the entire United States government, all these intelligence services, all this stuff at his disposal. But guess who else has all this at his disposal? The Vice President of the United States. So there's a war going on between Trump and Pence, according to Tim Holmseth. We've got people on Trump's side that are trying to fight this deep state. People that are out to get Trump out of office, to overthrow the Trump administration. And there are people on the other side trying to prevent Pence from doing that. Now, who's the most powerful side here? Remember now, these men are two very, very powerful people. They have at their disposal the military, the intelligence community, the courts, allies in foreign countries, all kinds of people at their disposal. So they're pretty well able to do what they want to do. Now, since Pence is the bad guy in this, and he would be at war with Trump, and Pendergrass, Hallett, McConnell, and Holmseth are all on Trump's side. So you got this little war going on, and you got the troops. The goal in a war is to get rid of the troops, defeat the army, make the head of the army, or the leader, powerless. And so you take and you mark the army for death. And you bring to bear some very powerful resources. Because the first rule of war is to gather intelligence. Know your enemy. Know your enemy's strengths. Know your enemy's weaknesses. Know all the information about the forces, including who it is that are in the forces. And in this day and age, that means all the personal information you can possibly find on your enemy. And this is what the eye in the sky is all about. How all this information that can be used to kill the enemy is being gathered right now. The very simple methods, low-tech methods, right on up to methods that border on science fiction. That makes it crystal clear that nobody is safe. That those who have marked you for death can kill you whenever they feel like it. They could kill you this very minute. They could kill you tomorrow. They could kill you in your sleep. If they want you dead, you're going to be dead. So I would suggest to all these people that believe that Timothy Charles Holmseth is telling the truth, that Vice President Pence, that any number of law enforcement officials, states attorneys, governors, former governors, county sheriffs, city sheriffs, and even members of the court and members of the bar want him dead, then you better get your affairs in order. You better make out your will. You better start a trust, a living trust, and make sure your heirs are taken care of, those heirs that survive. Because like I said before, they are targets too. Your mothers, your fathers, your sons, your daughters, your grandchildren, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, they're all targets. Because these people that are after Tim and after the leaders are after the soldiers as well. And all the people that I have described since the beginning of this presentation are targets. You're all dead. You're all marked for death. There's no way to get out of it. You can't go down to your local sheriff and say, the Vice President of the United States wants to kill me. There's this guy on the internet that says people want to kill me. But this is not a declaration. This is a conspiracy theory. You can't put somebody in jail for a conspiracy theory. Remember? So this conspiracy theory that I've got out there is just that. It's an assumption based on Timothy Holmseth telling the truth. It's an assumption based on claims that Timothy Holmseth has made. Timothy Holmseth has declared that people are out to kill him. Very powerful people. So all I'm doing is placing this in context, saying this is what's going to happen if what Tim Holmseth is true. And my series that I'll be doing is going to go into intricate detail as to how they're going to be able to do this. I'm not going to get into formulas for poisons or specifications for silencers and long-range rifles. My part in this presentation is going to be in the technology involved in surveillance, information gathering, tracking, pattern recognition, spreadsheets, dossiers, all the things that are necessary to plan for a successful assassination operation. Ways of taking people out where people will say it's an accident, natural causes, not a homicide, not a deliberate attempt at assassination, just bad luck. God's will. It's your time to go. Because it's going to be hard to prove that the Vice President of the United States wanted to kill a housewife with a block. And so they'll get away with it. And one by one, people will disappear. And people will keep disappearing until people get the message that you're getting involved in something that's bigger than you. Leave the battle to the big boys. Leave the battle to those at the top. Go ice fishing. Go skiing. Watch the Saturday night football. Play video games. Read a magazine. Read a book. Stay out of the fight. If you don't, you're dead. This is the warning that knife tires give. This is the warning that mirrors dislodged from the roof of a car give. This is a warning a cop pulling you over for a seatbelt violation. In Tim's head, these are warnings. These are warnings that we're out to get you. You're dead. Now, for those that do not believe Tim Holmseth and do not believe that the Vice President of the United States is out to kill Tim Holmseth or all these other people, I'm on the same page. I don't believe it. But Tim Holmseth believes it. The people that support Tim Holmseth believes it. And so the purpose of my presentation is to take that into consideration. Say, okay, these people believe this. They believe that for some unknown reason, the Vice President in the United States wants to knock Donald J. Trump out of office. He wants to do it with this deep state. He has Democrats that are helping him. This is all these conspiracy theories. You know, we've even got the John F. Kennedy Jr. alive and well and ready to become the Vice President of the United States in place of Mike Pence. This is what these people believe. They believe all kinds of stuff. They believe that every single solitary Democrat on the planet is involved in pedophilia. And they believe that a lot of Republicans are involved in pedophilia, including Mike Pence, including Pam Bondi, who is on the impeachment defense team for President Trump. These people believe this stuff. And because of this, we might as well take them at their word and say, okay, this is what's going to happen because you people believe that the Vice President of the United States and this huge group want you dead. Because it makes sense if they want Timothy Holmseth dead, Kirk Pendergrass dead, Chris Hallis dead, and Phil McConnell dead, it's because these are the leaders. They're going to want those that are in the army with these individuals dead as well. Now, I know one question's going to come up that, yes, Phil McConnell has declared that he is a target for death. That's why he's so shook up about being in jail. And Timothy Holmseth obviously has said that he's marked for death. Why are there all these other people? Why is Kirk Pendergrass marked for death? Why is Chris Hallett marked for death? And even Preacher Dan marked for death. Again, these are the soldiers in the army. Kirk Pendergrass and Chris Hallett are the legal representatives of both Holmseth and McConnell. And so naturally, they're on the death list. Kirk Pendergrass claims to be a former United States Marine. He's a soldier. Soldiers die. So Kirk Pendergrass has to die. Chris Hallett, he is part of this law firm that's representing both McConnell and Holmseth, so he has to die. We have the staunch supporter of Timothy Holmseth, Bill McConnell, and so forth, who has a show and who lives in Wisconsin. She lives in Minnesota. She's a soldier in the army. She has to die. There's a woman in Minnesota with a Facebook page who has been accused a number of times of housing Tim Holmseth. At the very least, this individual has come to the aid of Timothy Holmseth. She is a soldier in the army. She has to die. And there are any number of others, including Preacher Dan, who are soldiers in the army. And soldiers have to die. So that's the mindset we use here. We as common sense individuals can dismiss all this as fantasy. And that's true. But these other people don't. These other people are declaring that this is the truth, that they are marked for death. So I'm just going to explain how, in this series, it's possible, in this day and age, for all these people to have to come to the realization that they cannot hide. They can't become invisible. They can't go where nobody can find them. Remember the Unabomber. The Unabomber lived in a cabin in the woods, all by himself. He was caught, and we know his fate. He wrote a letter. His brother recognized the letter, said, "That's my brother." And they got him. Same thing's going to happen to all these other people out there. If somebody wants them dead, they're dead. Timothy Charles Holmseth and Phil McConnell have made it clear that they are targets of people that want them dead. And this is an extension of guilt by association. If Phil McConnell and Timothy Holmseth are marked for death, and so are all these other people. They have joined this army of the Children's Crusade, and they are going to have to sacrifice their lives because they joined this army. So coming soon is going to be the Eye in the Sky series, and I am going to go over in detail different segments of how it is impossible for anyone today to hide from anyone with a determined goal. And in this case, the determined goal is death. And right now, Timothy Charles Holmseth, Field McConnell, Chris Hallett, Kirk Pendergrass, Preacher Dan, and countless other people are being stalked by a hunter. They are the prey. And they will soon be tracked down and they will die. And I will show you how. Until then, this is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1. Have a good one.